Dugout Nation, welcome to the Dugout CEO podcast. Today we have Joshua Lifrak, mental performance expert, speaker, and coach, and he's their director of performance at Limitless Minds and the president at Lift Up Consulting. My favorite thing on his bio, World Series champion with the Chicago Cubs when he was a director of mental skills. So being a Cubs fan since the time of birth, we talked a bunch about the culture and how he helped lead the Chicago Cubs to winning the 2016 World Series. And Joshua, he's one of the most humble guys I know, and he always has a way of passing the buck for him not being a reason. But I understand after listening to him, the principles that he instilled in the Cubs organization that helped him get over the hump and win the World Series. And he's going to share some iconic stories of the Cubs and their World Series run and give you some very simple principles to help you become mentally fit. Joshua, welcome to the Dugout CEO.
Thanks, Case. Great to be here, man.
Yeah, so my 10-year-old self wants to say thank you. And then also, I guess, my 31-year-old self, because I grew up a Cubs fan and, we were called lovable losers. And somehow you were part of turning this thing around. And I'm excited to get into that story. So one, thank you, because feels like you saved generations, right, with some of the stuff you did with the Cubs. So we're going to talk about the Cubs here and some of the stuff you do with baseball players and owners. But talk to me about this thing, Joshua. Mental skills. Is this something you were like, I remember writing in my 8th grade time capsule, I want to develop real estate growing up. Like, did you say, hey, I want to be a mental skills coach growing up? Or like, how'd you come up with this?
Yeah, you're bringing up your 8th grade self. And I remember vividly, right, in 3rd grade, Mrs. Relier's class in High Park Elementary, we had the assignment before lunch to write down your dream job, what you wanted to do in your life. And it was the only time I ever got detention because I didn't do it, because I had no clue. I was like completely lost. I was befuddled by the question. I was just a happy-go-lucky 8-year-old. And that detention lasted until I was about 30 years old, because I still had no clue what the heck I wanted to do. And so I got into the field of mental skills a little bit later in life, right? I was literally 30 when I went back to grad school to pursue an education. And it was at that time exercise, sport, and sports sciences with an emphasis in sports psychology. But my passion for sports never yielded, no matter what. Like I grew up playing basketball and baseball and all these sports in college. I rode crew. I was always around sport, and it was a driving force in my life. Even after college, when I didn't know what the heck I wanted to do, I was waiting tables in New York City, but I was rock climbing, I was mountain biking, I was hiking, I was still, anything I could go play, I would go do it. So, I think there's the world of sports allows that inner child to live, right? And I mean, you play baseball, you play basketball, you play, right? And so that joy was, something that I always wanted to be around even more. And so that's kind of what led me back to sports psych.
Yeah. So let's start there. You're 30 something, right? Sports psych, you jump back in and take me on the path of that to kind of the cool things that you've accomplished.
Yeah. So here I am, I'm working in 3-star restaurants in New York City, in Manhattan, which is really awesome. And I always laugh about, you never know, like I'm gonna mess this all up, but I'm gonna jump around in timelines. Okay, when I was working with the Cubs and we were in our scouting department, came up with a phrase called "You never know." YNK. You never know, and it was really a call to action for our area scouts to make sure they're always asking the questions to anyone around them, because you never know if this uncle is going to be the person who gives you all the great information about the kid and what the kid struggles with, or what makes the kid really special, right? So that you never know phrase kind of came up in the Cubs organization. And I think that I look back on my life a little bit, and you never know the things that you're doing in your life, what they're preparing you for. Not to get too spiritual on this, right? I'm pretty spiritual, not very religious, but the reality is that there's a plan, right? And so you never really know what that plan has set out for you. My mother-in-law, my Safta Tova, she always says, man plans, God laughs. And I love that, right? That's the whole thing. And so you never know exactly what you're being prepared for as you go through your life. So me waiting tables in 3-star restaurants and waiting on people like Wayne Gretzky, Joe Montana, Steven Spielberg, Tom Hanks, every member of U2 in a different restaurant, that prepared me to understand that even if you're famous, you're a human being, because you got to talk to them, you got to see them, you got to be around them, right? I served them, I waited tables, right, and I was giving them food and stuff like that. But sometimes you get into conversations with these people. I had a snowball fight with Matt Dillon one time in the streets of New York, right? And you kind of like you have these experiences, so that when I got into sports and you meet a Maria Sharapova, you're not overwhelmed. You're just like, oh, she's another person. She happens to do something really, really great, but she's actually just a human being, and human beings have these types of emotions, and this is what I deal with, and this is how I can help, right? So I think, so you never know. So I waited tables, like I said, for like 10 years in Manhattan, and then recognized I wanted to get into another field, and that field was sports psychology. There's a whole story about a mountain bike ride that I've said on other podcasts, so I won't bore you with that. But basically, it was like I was having a moment where I was thinking in a certain way and my results were a certain way. I changed my thought process and the results immediately changed. And I was like, ooh, I could study this. So I was not a great student at the University of Rhode Island. I was a rower and a partier. And as a result, my GPA showed that. So I had to go back to school, went to 20 credits at Brooklyn College to get physical education and psychology credits, thus bumping my GPA up and being available to be actually to get into grad schools. Went to Ithaca College, did a year and a half there, a year of classes, and then I went to IMG Academy to do my internship, which was life-changing, completely life-changing. That's where I met Trevor Moawad, Chad Bowling, Chris Passarella, these amazing practitioners, and just got to learn from the best of the best.
So you mentioned, hey, people are people. We all have emotions. We all have needs and desires and wants and all of that kind of stuff. So I guess, what do you mean by that? We all have emotions. And then how do you, I guess, know that and then use that information to help people become their best, whether they're a baseball player or a executive or whatever?
Well, I think it's more that recognizing that we're all going to have them. And when I think about emotions, you think about fear, joy, anger, frustration, happiness, all those, right? You're going to have those things. The big key is not whether or not you're going to have them. It's how you process them and how you manage them moving forward. We talk a lot. I'm the director of performance and coaching for an unbelievable company called Limitless Minds. We go into different organizations helping, up level their mental performance and thus up leveling their actual performance. So there's mental performance and there's actual performance. So one of the things we always talk about is recognizing that you're going to have emotions, honoring them, but not letting them direct you into your next action. Because there's never been an emotion that's hit a baseball, right? Your eyes, your hands, your body, your legs, your hips, that's what hits a baseball, the bat, right? But your joy and your emotions never actually hit a baseball. So that's kind of the big key about that too, is making sure that we recognize, oh, you can have these things. Are they serving you? Yes, no. If they're not serving you, see ya. If they are serving you, you can double down on them, but don't let them take you so far away from the execution of the action that's right in front of you that they're now the driver. You always have to be the driver.
Got it. So let's jump into how you applied some of this stuff. You jumped in with the Cubs director of mental skills in 2014.
2014.
I don't think we were all that good in 2014.
DFL, baby. We finished
Yeah.
last.
Yeah. And then 2015, I think we had a sniff of it and lost to the Mets. And, and then it's like, okay, then 2016 is coming. Like, what happened 2014, because they literally, this organization were called the lovable losers. And there was this mentality where there's a curse. Like, it's hard to break a curse. A curse is a curse. You're done. You're dead. Like, did you guys feel that? Did they feel that? Or is that outside noise? And then how did you go about, like, literally developing the mental skill set to turn this team into a World Series champion?
Yeah, so it always starts from water the bamboo, right? You've heard this analogy of the bamboo, right? Chinese bamboo or whatever it is, bamboo. You put it in the ground and you put the seeds in there and you don't see anything for like 5 years. but you got to water and till the soil and water and like just stay on it daily. And then after 5 years, the bamboo breaks through and grows 80 feet in 6 weeks, right? So that's an 8-story building in 6 weeks. That's how fast it grows. Doesn't grow that fast. It takes 5 years to grow that fast, right? So it's 5 years and 6 weeks that it actually takes to get to 80 feet. Same kind of thing with the Cubs. It was a lot of stuff that happened way before I even showed up on the scene. There was a lot of stuff that was done in the player development group with Jason McLeod and Tim Cousins and the whole crew there, and all their pitching, Anthony Iapoce, the hitting coordinator, and Derek Johnson, the pitching coordinator. And there was all this foundation that was set in terms of mindset stuff, even though it wasn't like official. And they were doing a great work even before I showed up in 2014. In addition, in 2015, two things happened. Number one, we signed John Lester, right? So you have this champion in every way, shape, and form. Human being, player, preparation, how he regenerates, everything. The guy was an absolute champion. That's why he had 200 innings for 10 straight years or whatever he had. Ridiculous stats if you look at Johnny. Spectacular guy, just really locked in. Awesome. So we signed him. That makes us relevant right then and right there. Number two is you had this unbelievable front office led by Theo Epstein, Jed Hoyer, Scott Harris, Jason McLeod, that was absolutely believing in themselves and believing in their process because they had just done it in Boston. They just broke that curse. So now you have a whole bunch of people believing in the front office. In addition, they were incredible communicators. And I cannot stress this enough for executives and leadership. The ability of them to articulate their ideas, to be transparent, to be honest with the players on the field, with the managers and the coaches in the clubhouse, with the coordinators and the people in the minor league system, I've never been around anything like it before or after.
How did they actually do that? Like, what does that actually look like?
That actually looks like getting in your car and driving to Kane County to sit in the stands and talk to the manager afterwards as the president of the organization. It's calling people up and texting them when they're, double A hitting coach. Hey man, I saw this with Kyle Schwarber the other day. What do you think about that? What are you seeing? You got eyes on the ground, man. I need to hear your opinion. So being open and like being able to communicate downward and upward. So that's where, and then just being like really honest and open and just being a normal human being, a normal person, not letting their title dictate what they did, but more letting the mission dictate what they did.
So there was that buy-in, I guess. Hey, we've already been there and done that. We did it at Boston. If we did it at Boston, all we got to do is follow a similar process here. And I guess, what did that look like bringing you in? I guess, why did they hire you? And then how did they?
I still got them fooled, Case. I still got them fooled. They had wanted to. They had a really robust system in Boston in terms of mental skills and mental performance. The way it was in Chicago prior to me getting there was a little bit more mental health oriented versus mental performance oriented. There's a difference, right? They can play into each other, and they often have to work in concert. And really good organizations get that. The ones that are struggling, that kind of are a little bit, they're like, there's a division, right? And they have to work hand in hand.
So touch on that, because I hear mental health, stigma. Not stigma, but it's just like a buzzword. It's like mental health. Okay. But then there's mental performance. I have no idea what each of them mean. I guess if you had to say, what do they mean? What do they mean?
Yeah. So there are tools and things you can use for your mind that help you perform at an elite level, right? Oftentimes the players that buy into mental skills training understand that it is a competitive advantage. If I'm more focused, if I'm more prepared, if I respond better to failure, if I respond better to success, if I, have the right energy, all those things are in my control. But if I don't train how to control them, then then it's probably not going to go as great as somebody who does train them. And so that's really what we did. It was a mental skills program. I think ultimately, I've heard this term recently, I was listening to a Simon Sinek podcast, and he talked about mental fitness. And I like that term so much better than mental health or mental performance. Because think about it, if you go to a gym and you're fit, right? How did you get fit? You didn't just show up and you were fit. You worked at it. You worked at it and you worked at it. And so that's the kind of the same thing. Is the mental health side of things is typically associated with some sort of malady, right? There's something that's a little bit that needs to be worked on because it's not performing at a high level. Mental skills is all about proaction. About, hey, so mental health typically is reaction. Mental skills is proaction of like, we're going to do these things so we can perform better and we can have a better mindset. We can have better execution. We're just going to be better athletes because we've worked on our mind. Better CEOs, better salespeople, all those types of things. You can practice that stuff, right?
How to handle failure better, like tactically. The people that are listening to this, like their coaches, their leaders, their husbands, right? They're like, what does that look like? How to handle success, like tactically, and how do you train for that? So all of a sudden, oh, now I'm successful. Now how do I handle it? I guess you're prepared ahead of time. What does that look like?
Yeah. So the short answer is a disco ball and a smoke machine. After every game we would win, we would have a disco ball and a smoke machine, and we would party and jump around and high five for about 15 minutes. At the end of the 15 minutes, we were done. We're on to the next page. Same thing if we lost. We didn't have the disco ball and the smoke machine. There was pretty silence. There was contemplation. There was thought process. But it was 15 minutes, turn the page, move on. So that's how we handled that kind of stuff. Was as a team, we did that. Now, when you're talking about an individual, it's the recognition of, hey, I was successful. What did I do to be successful? What are those actions and behaviors that I was responsible for that led to success? And then understanding that in order to have more success, I need to repeat those. We talk a lot about it in Limitless Minds. There's 4 levels of competency. There's unconscious incompetent. I have no clue what I'm doing except for the fact that I know that I'm really bad at what I'm doing, right? Then there's conscious incompetent. I know that I'm bad and I know why I'm bad and I know what to do about it. Then there's competent unconscious. What is that? Hey, I'm good, but I have no clue or understanding why. So it's really tough to repeat if things change on me. And that's like a really dangerous place. We see a lot of salespeople and a lot of corporate folks get into that competent unconscious. And that's one that we really want to avoid.
Say that one more time. I want to make sure I hit that one.
So it's unconscious competent.
Okay, which, if you were to simplify that, okay, I want to teach this to my 70-year-old aunt. Unconscious competent. What does that mean?
That means that I'm good at what I do, but I have no clue why. So it's really tough to repeat.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And then the last part is conscious competent. That's what we're shooting for, is that 4th level, conscious competency. I know why I'm good. I know what behaviors and habits I'm doing. I know what thoughts I'm having. I know what my preparation looks like. I know what my regeneration looks like. I know what all these habits look like. So I'm able to repeat, thus giving myself a much better chance of success in the future.
So if you're in a slump or things aren't working, you can go back to, hey, well, these are the things I know I have to do because this is what, but I'm not doing that. Is that how that works?
Yeah, pretty much. There's some of that, but there's also too, like, hey, I'm going good right now. What am I doing to keep this going?
Yeah, really good.
Right. So I often try to take that other lens because ultimately, what do we want to repeat? We want to repeat success. Success leaves clues. So let me look at success over and over and over again. What do I want to avoid? Well, I want to avoid failing and messing up. So what I want to do there is I want to look at it. Why did I fail? Why did I mess up? Let me learn from that. And now let me turn the page quick. While I'm successful, I want to investigate the crud out of that. I want to dive into success over and over and over again because that's where the clues are. That's where the clues to my success are going to be. I want to look at other people's success, see what they've done. I want to see what behaviors and habits they're doing that I'm not doing, right? And then apply those as is the case.
What do you see as those typical patterns? Is there patterns where, hey, do these 3 things or these 5 things? If you just can master these things, is there a kind of a thing or a common principle?
The internet marketer in me really wants there to just be like 5 things, and then I could post a blog on it and hopefully get thousands of followers and never have any real good information. But the reality is everybody's different, right? So what I'm going through is way different from what you're going through, Case. And what you're trying to accomplish might be really different from what I'm trying to accomplish. So the fact of the matter is, while there are probably certain things that are similar to our successes, there's a lot of things that aren't. So when you ask that question, are there like 3 or 5 things that are like, yes, definitely print them, put them down? No, there's not. What I do know though is humble, hungry, and smart matter. Am I humble enough to not have an ego about what's going on and to admit when I'm wrong? And I'm not trying to be right. I'm just trying to get it right. Right. That's certainly humble. Hungry is, I really want it. And I'm going to do whatever it takes, including look at myself in the mirror. And then smart is I'm aware of my surroundings and I'm understanding. This is straight out of the book, The Ideal Teammate by Patrick Lencioni. Unbelievable. Lencioni, I believe his name is.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like I read that like recently and I was like, that's it, right? Hungry, humble, and smart. Everybody that I've met that has been hyper successful absolutely has those 3 qualities.
Humble, hungry, smart. Absolutely. And that I was running a bunch of baseball academies, owned 5 baseball academies in Atlanta in
Awesome.
2016, I guess, when you guys won it all. And I bought into the do simple better motto that Madden had.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he came up with that, you came up with that, but like, that's simple. Do simple better, humble, hungry, smart. Like, let's just nail that. And I think your explanation was really good. So how do you tell if you are humble, hungry, and smart? And then what do you do with that?
Yeah. So the humble part is really just checking your ego at the door, right? And so I was just in a bunch of meetings this week with our own Limitless Minds team, and I caught my ego driving the conversation several times, being a little bit defensive, being a little bit like pushback, right? And that's not humble because I'm trying to be right versus get it right. So I think when you can step back from that and just kind of take a look at that and recognize, hey, there's a lot of self-awareness that goes involved with this, right? There's a lot of noticing your own behaviors, which is a trainable attribute, by the way. We'll talk about that in a second. But so that power of noticing is so massive. And to be able to kind of step back sometimes outside of yourself and just notice what you're doing or why you're saying things, it's really, really crucial to humility. Okay. Hungry is like, what's your why type stuff, right? What's your why? Right. And so those types of things are really, really important. Like, why do I want to accomplish what I want to accomplish? Why does Limitless Minds, why do I resonate so much with the mission of impacting 1 billion people? Why does that matter to me? Why did the Cubs matter to me? Because it wasn't about winning a World Series, it's about changing the world. We knew that if we were going to win the World Series, we'd have an opportunity to change 5 million people's mindsets about what was truly possible, let alone all the other Cubs fans out there in the world. The 5 million were just the people that showed up at the parade, right? So it was like, right, that we knew we weren't just trying to win a World Series. We were just something bigger than ourselves.
Was that true? Like, is that the players thought they were playing for the 5 million?
We were absolutely playing to change the world. No offense about it.
My goodness, that's a lot of pressure. Like, holy smokes! Like, how did you?
Opportunity. Pressure's a privilege, right? Pressure's a privilege. It was an opportunity, and that's the way we saw it. You asked about the curse. We never thought about the curse. We thought about the opportunity to do something absolutely earth-shattering. Which, how many people get that opportunity? Not many. So we recognize that joy of possibility versus the fear of consequence.
Does that creep in? Like, that fear creep in? You got to get rid of it? Or is it, hey, I'm brainwashed? I don't know if brainwashed is the right word, but it's like I've trained my mind enough I don't even think about fear. Or, when, the guy hit that home run off of Chapman and it went off the foul pole. Like, I was a fan. I was in the stands. I was like, oh my God. Like, I felt it. Like, did the players feel that? Did they reframe their mindset?
Yeah, but I mean, the story, right? You read the books. We had a meeting. And they got it all out, right? We walk in there, Jason Hayward, hey, everybody in the clubhouse, let's go to the weight room, and they have a great meeting, and they let it all out. Aroldis Chapman's crying his eyes out, and hey, man, we got you. Don't worry about it. Next play, right? So that's the mindset, right? That's the mindset of it's opportunity again versus like fear of consequence. This is what we can do. This is what we've done all season. We've been the best team all year long. Hey, we got each other. We love each other. Let's just go get this thing. 10th inning. Let's go. Schwartz. Bang. Right? Off we go.
I mean, I think the rain delay was a little bit longer than 15 minutes, but you almost had that 15-minute rain delay to like, you know what, we're going to sit here and we're going to think about it, but we're going to get it. And thank goodness for whatever Hayward said, because that did it, right?
Well, the whole team did it. That was the thing. I mean, it's just like it was just one voice, but there was 20 voices in that room,
Yeah.
right? And it was the whole thing about it is like that rain delay. We joked internally that was Ernie Banks, right? Mr. Cub just came over and said, "Hey guys, just take a breath, and that's sometimes all you need, right? Sometimes all you need is to just step out of the situation, take that deep breath, get yourself feet grounded, and remember what's truly important."
Yeah. So is that something that like, are you up in the press box during this, or have you trained the players where they can handle it themselves in the game? Or are you in there in the locker? Like, how does that all work?
Yeah, so again, my role with the Cubs was the front office. I was working in the front office. Did I work with some of the players? Absolutely. I worked mostly in the minor league system, though, developing that. So we had, players that were prepared for those moments. Again, the Cubs won. They were the youngest team in the history of the World Series to ever win the World Series. So what we also had, though, was we had a Hall of Fame mental skills guy named Ken Ravizza, who was in the locker room that day. And that's what we did. We said, "Hey, Josh, you're front office. You oversee everything. You hire the right people, put them in the right places." Great. We did that. And Kenny was one of the people that we had together with Joe, who requested Kenny. I'm not going to take total credit for that. But Joe was like, "Hey, can we get Ken Ravizza? We're really good friends." Talked to Kenny one time. Kenny was like, "Yeah, man, I'm in." So we're like, "Yeah, Kenny, go. Do it. Do your thing, man. Let me get out of the way."
Yeah, chance to change the world. Who's up for that, right? I
Right,
think
exactly.
a lot of
Exactly
people.
right.
That's so now transitioning to the Limitless Minds team and what you're doing over there. Like, who are you helping? What are you helping them do?
Yeah, so we mostly we're totally in corporate America. There's no sports involved other than the athletes that work with us, right? It's
Yeah.
former athletes, Olympic gold medalists, world champions, things like that come in and help train. But ultimately, what we do is we are working with the performance that you have on your daily plate. Our niche right now is pharmaceutical sales. We work with 9 out of the top 12 pharmaceuticals in the world, and so that group, like, it makes sense. Sales totally makes sense for mental performance, right? Because there is a scoreboard. And so you can look at that and you can see how much this mental performance stuff is actually impacting their performance. And we've seen really nice gains of the people that buy in, show up, do all the work. The work works on them and they end up performing a lot better. So that's kind of who we're working with now. And we have some financial companies that we work with. We've got a couple other groups that are not in either of those niches, but yeah, that's mostly some tech companies, things of that nature. So we got a bunch of people that we're impacting, but again, our goal is big, to impact billions of lives. So
Yeah. So give us some high heat. Let's see, John Lester high heat, right up and in. Everybody listen to this, Joshua. They're a leader at some level. They're leading themselves first, which it feels like you got to lead yourself to lead others. It's like, what's one big takeaway or one thing that you believe that might be contrarian to most to our listeners that you want to share?
huh, that would be contrary. So that's interesting because I don't know. I oftentimes don't listen to a lot of other stuff. I'm just kind of like in the trenches with what we're doing. That's a good question. What's contrarian? Okay, I'll give you something contrarian. Um, don't be positive. Okay. So a lot of people are like, "Hey, positive thinking, positive thinking, positive thinking," right? All you got to do is think it and good things will happen to you. I'm completely disagree with that. What we've recognized and what we've seen from everything that we've done is it's fine to be optimistic if optimism doesn't pull you away from doing what it takes in order to be successful.
Yeah.
So one of the things we always talk about at Limitless Minds, and this was a term coined by the late great Trevor Moad, who I had the opportunity to work with for 8 years at IMG Academy, before he went off and did his own thing and started this incredible company, Limitless Minds, is neutral thinking. And what neutral thinking is, there's 3 types of thinking, right? There's your positive, there's your negative, and then there's your neutral. We know that negative thinking works. Unfortunately, it works for the negative. If I think bad things are going to happen, typically they arise, and they do. If I'm downgrading myself or downgrading others around me, they're going to underperform. We know that from research. There isn't really any research that shows that positive thinking will work, right? You can think positive, but if you just think positive and you don't do anything about it, nothing's going to help you, right? So that middle ground is neutral. And what neutral is really just taking the facts as they are, right? It's a mindset grounded in concrete facts without judgment or grading. And that last piece is really, 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 really crucial. If I start judging things, then it's bad or good, it's hard, it's easy, et cetera, and that's going to kind of dictate my behavior. But if I just take something for what it is, hey, this guy throws 95 miles an hour. His fastball has a little bit of tail and run that cuts across the plate. So I need to adjust when I start my swing. It's not good, it's not bad, it's not easy, it's not hard, right? It's just what it is. And this is how I accomplish that task. That's going to get me way more results than, hey, I'm great today, things are going to be awesome. So that's my contrarian take.
I mean, it's good. Like, I think it is contrarian in some ways, but it's like, yeah, hope without a plan, right, is not really hope at all. And I think you're right. Like, positivity without a plan, I think that's really good. Well, what are you looking forward to now? I know who you're working with. How would somebody get a hold of you and all of that kind of stuff?
So yeah, what I'm looking forward to really is I'm just looking up on my board over here with all my dates of travel coming up. So month of September and the month of October, we get out on the road and we're gonna, if my count is right, I think we're gonna be live in front of about 25,000 people over the next 2.5 months, which is awesome. So that's great. A live event is really, can be really impactful and really powerful and can hit people. But then what I'm really excited about is after that, after you have those live events, you get 12 months of interaction with those companies. So I'm really excited about starting up with these new companies and really getting after it with them and helping them up level themselves and then understand how their mindset can be an absolute game changer and an absolute performance enhancer. So that's what I'm talking about. How you can get in touch with us, limitlessminds.com. Just that simple, limitlessminds.com. That's probably the best way. You can follow me on Instagram at Joshua Lifrak. At Limitless Minds has also got a great Instagram account too. So
great.
Those are good. Well, Twitter, not Twitter. LinkedIn as well.
There you go. Perfect. We'll put all of that in the show notes. And I think there was like a movie called Limitless back in the day. I never watched it, but I think all Bradley they did Cooper. Was
me neither.
Yeah, like what was it? Take a pill and you're good. I don't know how it all worked, but it sounds like Limitless Minds is not just about taking a pill. It's about training and all of these kind of things. So I'm going to make sure we put all of this in the show notes. And this was awesome. And thank you again from 7-year-old Casey and 31-year-old Casey for what you did to make all of those people believe. And it wasn't about baseball. It was about so much more. So super cool.
So let me ask you a question. Now I get to turn the tables. It's fun being a guest, but hey, I like being a host too.
Do it.
What are you taking out of this conversation? What is the thing that you're going to apply to yourself? And you run all these academies and you have all these kids. What do you want them to take away?
Yeah, I think the Y and K, you never know, I think is really good. The whole thing about responding and how you respond to success and failure, I think it's more, I don't necessarily have a takeaway yet. I probably need to re-listen to this and be like, all right, what am I going to do with this information? But I think it is the patterns and trying to figure out, all right, Casey, on a good day, why was it a good day? All right, on a bad day, why was it a bad day? And almost focus on the good days. And for me, it's, did I wake up early? Did I get my reading done? Right? Did I take care of my body before my kids wake up? Because if I can't do those things and I just run into chaos, because we got 2 little kids and 2 more on the way.
Oh, look at you. Got twins coming, Case?
Let's go. My aunt got me a shirt that said real men make twins. So I don't know how that works. And then I send it to a buddy of mine and he goes, well, are you ever going to be able to fill out that shirt? Because I think it's like a large and I'm more of a medium. So he got me back pretty good.
Nice.
But I think it's training your mind. I mean, I got to figure out when I have a great day, why, and then repeat that over and over again. So Jason Hayward used to work out at our baseball academy back when he was with the Cubs.
Yeah, Atlanta guy. Perfect.
Yeah, and he would sit in the tunnel with his hitting coach, and they'd be in there for 2 hours, but they'd only hit for 20 or 30 minutes, and they were just talking. And I remember when Jason came in and he took that ball off the face this was when he was with the Braves, and he broke his jaw. And I just remember talking to him and like, how are you doing? Because that was a mental thing of how am I going to get back into the box again? And I was not his mental coach, but somebody helped him get through it and over it because obviously he had to think about things differently after that injury. But he got through it and became even a better player after that. So what am I thinking? I'm thinking, all right, how do I create routine patterns of success and do what I do best over and over again? And that's where I'm at.
Beautiful. And I'll throw this little caveat to you too. By doing that, you're giving yourself a better chance for success. You are not guaranteeing success. So that's the whole key, is that all we're doing is buying lottery tickets, right? If I work out great, if I eat great, if I have the right mindset, if I stretch, if I do all that stuff, it just gives me a better chance for success. It does not guarantee it. The enemy still has a say.
Yeah, that's so good. Well, thank you so much. We're going to put all of this in the show notes, and I appreciate you asking how I'm going to apply this. And I would ask all of our listeners the same. Take some notes, listen to it again, because I think you're going to need to do that. And this has been really good. So thanks so much for being a guest on the Dugout CEO.
Appreciate it. Casey, thank you so much for seeking me out and having me on. It's always an honor to jump on podcasts, especially with somebody who's as awesome as you and asks such great questions. So keep up the great work, man. Really appreciate you.
You bet. Thank you. Dugout Nation, wow, blown away with our time today with Joshua Lifrak, a World Series champion with the Chicago Cubs. Now, here are 3 big takeaways that I got from our time. Number 1, what's your process to handle both success and failure? Not many have one. Not many are prepared to handle both, but it's going to happen. But if you haven't trained your mind on how to handle the highs of success and the lows of failure, it will limit your potential. Number 2, are you mentally fit? What does it even look like? What does it mean? We all know what it means to be physically fit, but what about mentally? Best defined as having and maintaining a state of well-being and cultivating awareness of how we think, behave, and feel. Are you mentally fit? And number 3, hungry, humble, and smart. Taken from The Ideal Team Player by Patrick Lencioni. Humble. This is by far the most obvious and easiest to understand. Humility in a team member shows up as a lack of excessive ego, concerns, or status. They're quick to share credit and praise others freely. Are you humble? Hungry? Do you want it? How bad do you want it? Are you growth-minded? Are you open-minded? Are you wanting to do big things? And smart. By being smart, he talks about and refers to emotional intelligence and interpersonal awareness, the capability to conduct oneself in a group setting and deal with others in the most effective way. You have to know yourself to lead yourself. Be emotionally intelligent. Smart people exercise great judgment and intuition around other people, and they're fully aware of their effect of their words and the impact that it's going to have on their team. Be humble, be hungry, and be smart.